And we are live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Rich. Of course, my name's Richard Cleveland. I'm your host here on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock. On the panel today, we have Ben Brady.
Howdy, everybody.
Why am I getting feedback?
That may be me.
Oh, there we are. That's why. And sorry about that. So, Ben, tell people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and how many printers you got.
Okay. Well, I'm down here in the central parts of Texas, out in the boonies where we don't have any broadband internet. So my internet connection is via my cell phone signal. And just recently started doing Hangouts again after a 4-year hiatus. I've got about 10 different printers. The only ones that are working right now are the Creality printers. Everybody else is in various stages of repair.
There you go. And with us, we have my right hand or my left hand or the more logical side of my brain, Brian Baker. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Rich. How you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm snowed in, but I'm doing well.
Yeah. You guys always get it worse in the north there.
We do. We do. You know, we're in the same city, but you'd think we're in different parts of the province.
Absolutely.
So, Brian, let's talk a little bit about what you do outside of the first layer and how many printers you've got.
Well, I'm a controls technologist. I do all sorts of oil and gas based PLC and HMI upgrades. So I'm traveling North America doing all sorts of computer upgrades, automation system upgrades. So 3D printing is kind of the natural hobby evolution of my career. I've got 2 printers, and I say that loosely because, as you can see right behind me here, that's my CR10, or what once was a CR10, printing away. And then beside me on my desk here, which is even in more shambles, but eventually you'll see photos of it, is my Monoprice Select Mini that is basically a frame of gears at this point, driven by a ramps board.
All right, so with that, I'm going to let everybody go and get themselves a cup of coffee while we run the intro. Why is my intro not running? Well, let's say good morning to everybody on our chat over here in YouTube land. We've got Donald Kratzer this morning. We've got Canadian Maker Project. We have Trolling for Dollars. Paul Zersky. I hope I pronounced that right. We got Mark Fechner and Knack 3D Designs, as well as Britt Hawks 3DP. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. This morning, we are diving into talking about upgrades. If anybody's been following this week's series, we are doing upgrades currently on the CR10, my CR10 at the studio, which is over at Spool 3D. And we've put on the Bondtech extruder. We're going to cover a little bit about that, some of my likes, some of my dislikes. And recently, we have just put on the Micro Swiss. And on Monday, you guys are going to see the Pets Fang upgrade, which I've told a lot of people not to do, but I'm kind of taking that back a little bit. So let's dive right in. I'm going to start with Ben. Ben, because you have so many printers and you've got several that are in different stages of repair, what are some of your favorite upgrades, and have they been worth it to you?
Well, like you, Richard, I'm a bit of a purist. I have mounted a couple of fangs on some of my printers. I use the Bantam mount only because it's easy to print, a lot easier to print than the Pets Fang. And I think the Pets Fang is a bit clunky. The big advantage to the Fang is, you know, if you're going to do something that has a significant amount of bridging, then that works great. And the real obvious advantage that isn't really obvious to most people is the Creality hot end setup is real boxy and it doesn't give you a good way to view what's going on, you know, especially when you're trying to isolate problems with your first layer and stuff. And so if you can take that fan shroud off and reconfigure the hot end so you can see what's going on, then it makes the printing experience a lot more enjoyable. Now, the only other thing that I've really done is to add automatic bed leveling to all of my printers that I can do it to, and then the very first thing that I do in terms of upgrades is I immediately, whenever I get a new printer, I don't care what model it is, I flash the firmware to something that is safer. So, but most of the time, I'm a bit of a purist. I'm not a big fan of upgrades.
All right, let's go to Brian. Brian, you've got two printers, and of course, we all know about the Franken printer that you've made. So tell us a little bit about what you've done there and what the logic was behind the upgrades that you've done.
Well, let's start with the logic here. And the logic is I can't seem to get it through my head why I don't just build my own printer from the ground up instead of like buying a frame and then spending twice as much to make the same printer. I just like to tinker with this stuff. I mean, half the hobby is trying to find optimizations and playing with new technology. It's just the nature of my career. So I bought the CR10 and it printed fine. So I figured that's a good time to modify it and make it not print. And I just kept modifying from there. So I would actually say probably my most recent upgrade is going to be the upgrade I encourage people to do going forward. And that's looking into 32-bit boards, because the processing power is so much higher. And with the new demands of what's being offered in Marlin, it seems tempting to add all these new features. But there's not a general message out there to say 8-bit boards really can't handle these features. And so I've seen a lot of new print issues popping up that really it comes down to the limitation of the microprocessors. But that's a pretty big upgrade for a lot of people. That's why I'm trying to encourage OEMs to start going over to these 32-bit boards and helping to contribute to Marlin 32-bit. But for necessary upgrades, I would say, as Ben said, right off the bat, upgrade to a version of Marlin that and at least enable the thermal runaway protection, because nobody wants to burn down their house. And I would probably say not even so much an upgrade, just dialing your printer in, you know, tightening everything from the factory before you start messing with software and hardware fixes.
Yeah, I think, you know, sorry to cut you off there, but I think you're on the right track there. I mean, I'm in that same boat. Like, when you buy a new printer, put it together, learn about the printer first before you run out and start spending ridiculous amounts of money to upgrade a printer. I think that one of the biggest things that I've seen lately, or trends that I've seen lately, is guys taking an Ender 3 and putting a Duet Wi-Fi in an Ender 3. You've bought a board that is almost as expensive as the printer.
Yeah.
To me, that makes no sense. I would just simply build a new printer around that Duet Wi-Fi, but that's just me. I want to address a couple of questions that came in here, at least one anyway. Hassan Jamal has asked, which printer do you prefer between the Anycubic i3 Mega and the Ender 3? Well, they're in different price categories. They're different printers in the way that they produce prints. I think the Ender 3, if you're getting into the hobbies, is a great starting printer. I also think that the Anycubic i3 Mega is a good printer because it's got that touchscreen functionality. It's got the Anycubic Ultra base on it, which I think is a very good base. I actually have one in my Wanhao D6 at the shop. And I think it works great. So I think it's all a matter of budget to me, I guess. If I was just getting in, I'd buy the Ender 3 or the Ender 3 Pro, which is about $20 more than the Ender 3. I know here in Canada, it's retailing for $349.
Yes.
So, and the other one was $329 in Canada. So For the $20 difference, I would say yes, go with the Ender 3 Pro or end up going with the Anycubic i3. They're both very good printers. I mean, you can't go wrong with either one of them. Can you recommend a 32-bit board or link Edisher? I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name. Edisher, I would probably think that. Which 32 board did you go with, Brian? You went with.
I linked it in there, but it's the MKS S base, and I liked it because number one, the smoothie wear seems to run pretty well on it. But I'm running Marlin 32-bit on it, and the instructions were, for a programmer, fairly clear. For an average user, it might be a bit complex. There's a couple ones we've looked at. What was the one that you've selected for your next project there?
I've actually got two boards on the go. I've got the Gen L by MKS.
But that's the 8-bit board, right?
That's the 8-bit board. Yeah,
what was that one that Derek's running?
He is running a, what is it?
It starts with a Z.
Yes, I know, and I can't think of it off the top of my head.
It's
a Large.
Large, sorry.
It's the Large board.
The Large board, yeah. I mean, they're both adequate boards. If we go purely based off what Scott and the Marlin guys are targeting for, they're targeting for the RADS board, or sorry, for the Ramps-FD, which is the 4Do. But I haven't seen a lot of those at market yet, so I'm a bit hesitant to say there's a good quality one. Whereas the MKS S base, if you buy the 1.3, which is what everyone's selling, you're going to get the same board.
I agree. I think that, as far as upgrades go, it is kind of a crapshoot if you really don't know what you're doing. And the biggest trap that I think most people fall into is that they go out and they look on the internet at the forums, and they look at Facebook, and they look at all of these different venues of information, and nobody can agree on anything. So one person might say that, this is the best board, or another guy's going to say, no, XYZ is the best board, or this is the best upgrade, or that's the best upgrade. And the problem I find personally, because I deal with a lot of people that come in and are now asking for me to give them advice on what they should do. And I just say to them, get to know your printer. Before you run out and start printing upgrades and all that kind of stuff. I agree with what Ben said. You do have to make your printers safe. And Creality is the biggest offender of this, where they don't turn on the thermal protection in the firmware. So we have to turn that on and then re-upload it to our machines. But fortunately now they're becoming a lot more compliant with the open source network. So it works that way for me. What about you guys?
I don't think you can make that statement, Richard, because, we've had at least 2 other printers where they have not released the firmware and people are buying these printers like crazy. And I'm speaking specifically about the CRX and the CR10S Pro.
The CRX has been released. If you go to their website, it is released.
The firmware
for the CRX, yes.
Yeah, the firmware is out there, Ben. There's no firmware for the LCD because it's a common LCD controller. And last time I was chatting with Tim Hoagland of TH3D, he had actually linked me to what the controller was, and they were planning on putting their own panel or own little display on there. But basically, consider the LCD kind of a separate project with a bunch of people because it's just an interface to Marlin.
Well, but that's the problem that we have is we have people that are buying these printers that don't have a clue, and if they try to do something with the firmware, they're gonna render their LCD panel inoperable, or they're gonna lose functionality from the LCD panel unless we can get the source code for those interfaces and get them merged into Marlin.
What I'm getting at is that the LCD is, and this will get a little technical, but the LCD on the CRX and newer printers, a lot of these 32-bit boards, it's its own separate processor, and the LCD interacts with the main board similar to how Octoprint on a Raspberry Pi would interact with it. So if the main controller freezes, that little subcontroller doesn't know that. It just issues commands and waits for an OK reply. Okay. So as a result, it can run faster. And actually, as much as I dislike it, I understand why they have to do it in Marlin, because driving the LCDs that we see in the CR10 and the Ender 3s from that main board draws almost 80% of the processing power that Marlin uses. So this is why people are hitting a lot of bottlenecks with it. So it's the natural way to go to free up memory, free up usage, but you're also adding a secondary point of failure. So if you go and upgrade your firmware on the CRX with Marlin today, it'll still work fine because the serial commands that the LCD sends to the main board has not changed in 5 years of Marlin.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, the fact is the LCD, there's going to be a different upgrade path. There's probably going to be a whole separate team supporting these LCDs than the Marlin Group or RepRap or any of these guys. But my problem with Creality on that matter is that all they have to do is release the configuration.h file. They don't even have to release the whole source code every time. You know, all we need to know is our steps per millimeter and a couple of their acceleration recommended parameters. Yeah, all they have to do is release that file, and I still also don't understand why they're still distributing Marlin 1.1.0. It's just,
I think because a lot of their early development on these machines is based around that particular version of Marlin. They haven't upgraded it, which I understand. If it's working for them, great. And I get that from a software standpoint. I mean, if it works, why upgrade it, right? Why try and fix what's not broken?
Right.
However, that being said, Marlin has come such a long way since that iteration, and there's a lot more functionality. Now, with that functionality comes the usage of memory on those boards, depending on what you enable and what you disable. So that, with the 8-bit boards that they're putting in there, they've got a very small memory bandwidth to be able to use, or memory space to use. And we've seen that on the Ender 3. We've seen that on the CR10. I know when I did the upgrade on my CR10's firmware, just with the stock firmware, just to turn things on, I was running very low on actual memory. And part of the problem with that is when you try and do anything too fast, when you're dumping commands in, like let's say you're bringing up the Z axis, your machine can reboot on you.
And you're absolutely right about that. And there's this is why I'm pushing not so much consumers, because I understand 32-bit changes a lot of ways that we're accustomed to, no longer using the Arduino IDE and stuff like that. But for OEMs, just get your base platform on the cheapest 32-bit, like LPC 16, whatever the heck that one is. Get it on that chipset, and then down the road upgrade to a higher chip. The main point is that AVR 8-bit has reached its maximum potential with Marlin. And
I agree.
I'm even actually hesitant to tell people to install Marlin 1.1.9 on their 8-bit boards, because there was a lot of features in there that just pushes it over the limit. 1.1.8 is actually a pretty good firmware, I would say, for most people.
I think we lost Ben.
No, I'm just trying to fit something on the printer.
Oh, okay.
That's always the hard thing about having a 3D printing show. All you want to do is just play with your printer,
Exactly.
Like I was up at 7 a.m. getting this print job going, and when I saw, oh, hey, this print job's going to take 4 hours, excellent. It means I won't go tinker with it during the broadcast.
Well, that's okay. I still haven't moved that part of my shop over to here. For anybody that doesn't know, we've been kind of changing my home office and making it a little bit better for you guys. So what's going to happen behind me, this will be my prepping and painting station behind me, and my repair station and all that other kind of stuff. My printers will be going right over here to the left of me, when I get that bench moved over, and then the last part of this room will be all for storage. But let's quickly say hi to some people that we missed. There's RT, welcome, sir. Wiley's 3D. Mark Feckner. Who else did I miss there? Don's there. If I missed you, I apologize, but good morning to everybody. If you've got any questions, now's the time to put them in there. Donald saying, so if I try to upload my ANET E12 with Marlin 1.1.9, it might not work. Well,
I can answer that, I suppose, with it should work. But if it doesn't work, and if you notice the Arduino at the end says memory usage 90%, 95%, it couldn't hurt to try 1.1.8.
I'd agree with that. Good morning, Robert. And Red one.
Oh, geez.
I'd agree with that. I know with my two CR10s, it's just stock firmware on there with the added thermal protection turned on. And even with that thermal protection turned on, with the version of Marlin that they're using and the boards that they're using inside these machines, they're still, I think I've only got about 13 or 14% of memory still free.
And I think I can speak to that issue of the ANET E12 because I was helping a guy last week with his. There's no configuration H file for vanilla Marlin for that printer, but it is supported in TIM software.
Now, TIM that you refer to is obviously TH3D. What people should be aware of when dealing with the firmware from TH3D, that if you are not a customer of TH3D, in the respect that you've purchased something and are in their customer database, and you download their firmware, just remember that they do not support their firmware. So you can't call them or send them emails. They just won't respond about it.
Certain features.
Certain features, yes, correct.
Even if you're a customer, he will not support certain features.
Okay, that's something I didn't know.
Yeah, there's some ongoing questioning there, and I will tell you all, I'm always an advocate of doing the stock Marlin and only go to a pre-built by anybody, whether it's Tiny Machines or TH3D or anything. Don't go to those firmwares unless you are absolutely sure you can't get regular Marlin working, because most of the configuration you need is maybe editing 5 lines from the stock Marlin. It can be a little intimidating, but if you're having troubles with that, let us know and we will get you in the right direction. Perhaps even eventually do a video on just what information you need to know to configure Marlin for any printer.
Well, we're going to do that with the Prusa Mark II build that we're doing currently. For anybody that doesn't know, we are working on a clone of a Prusa Mark II, all on a rigid aluminum extrusion frame. And we will be walking you through vanilla Marlin and how to set it up for that printer. And that will apply to any other printer that you're going to use. Wow, everybody went silent.
It's a Saturday morning, because I think again, I think people need to realize that it's actually going to be very beneficial for you to understand what it takes to make your printer tick, even at the most basic of levels.
I agree.
And I think what you'll be surprised with is how easy, frankly, it is to get a printer running. You're basically saying, how many ticks does it take to turn the motor, and which direction is it supposed to go?
Exactly. We're half an hour in. That's good.
Awesome.
We're going to open it up now for anybody that would like to come into our Hangout this morning. I will put the link here in the, I think that's the link. Nope, that's not the link. Why don't I have the link? Brian, I'm in trouble.
Hey.
Brian's my go-to guy when I can't figure out what we're doing.
Well, let's see. You sent me the link here earlier, so why don't I just post it in the chat there?
Okay.
All right.
So if anybody wants to join us this morning now in the Hangout, you certainly can. If you've got any questions, you can ask those questions as well. This is our time to, we're trying to keep this to an hour because we tend to, last time we did this, we ran for 4 hours, 2 hours on air, and then another 2 hours off air.
As much as we love to hang out here, we like to enjoy our weekends too.
Yeah. And I've still got a lot to do in my office. What do you think of the new sort of look now?
I like how clean it is. See, me, I just put up a green screen so I could hide all the mess, and now I can do like cool things like this.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, OBS chroma key is impressive.
He's going to be hosting the show at some point in the new year. This is the JD robot from Easy Robot here in Calgary. And they this will be a sponsored video when we do this because they gave this to me for free to play with and learn. And then we're going to take it all apart and we're going to build something with it. So, yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
I see we got John joining us now.
Have Donald. Yes. Good morning, Donald. He's muted.
Oh. I think he's self-muted.
Well, that could be. You have to unmute yourself there, Donald. And Ben's on the phone, so.
Well, I guess while we're waiting, I can talk about my Pet G problems this whole week. Yeah,
you've had tons of them, haven't you?
I cannot seem to get my machine to print Pet G. Oh, Donald, you don't have a mic or a camera? Oh well. That's
well, that sort of defeats that purpose.
Yeah. well, welcome to the abyss, you know. Yeah, but I don't know what's been going on with Pet G. I've done a whole bunch of different settings, and I thought I had it dialed in last night, and then I woke up this morning to the print head about 1/4 of an inch above the last printed layer. My filament had grinded in the bond tech right at the gears, and my retractions were only like 2 millimeters or something like that, so I can't figure out why it had jammed.
Wow.
Yeah, so I jumped back to PLA, and it's printing PLA happily, so I might just, accept my losses there and farm out my Pet G printing or get a printer just for Pet G.
Gotcha. No, yeah. With me this week, it's been not so much that I've had issues with printing, although when I did do the micro-Swiss upgrade, as I said in the video, that I had some problems with the nozzle. And the nozzle, for whatever reason, just kept clogging and clogging and clogging. So once I replaced the nozzle, it worked fine. And now it's streaming great. I mean, it prints nice. I did that, the cube that you guys all saw on yesterday's show, and it's flawless for the most part.
Did you ever figure out what was wrong with the nozzle, or just that it was the nozzle?
I think what it was there, because there's plastic in it now, and I haven't taken out any of the additional plastic that's in there. But I think what happened when it was machined is that there's a piece of metal that is curlicued in there, and it just didn't break off and come out. And I've seen that before on other nozzles as well.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, an unrelated interesting fact this week, but if you take a dollar store laser pointer and disassemble it, the lens inside, you can use it on your phone to make a microscope, basically. Like it creates quite a macro lens, so you might be able to zoom in and get a shot to see what's wrong with that boring.
I'll have to heat it up and get the PLA out of it, but.
Edisher, okay. I suppose I should answer this question. What's with the wiring? The answer is it's a work in progress. I had just bought, and I didn't bring any of it in. I bought a bunch of new wire wrap actually to clean up the wiring this week, But I had to swap out my blowers because in a fit of rage with my Bondtech last weekend, I ripped off one of the blowers. So I had to go. I managed to print those in PETG somehow. So I put them on there while they're working. And they're kind of hanging there loose right now, but I do have new wire wrap. As you can kind of see, right? I guess, yeah, my finger doesn't go that far over. Wait. There we go. Over there on the left. You'll actually see I did put on clips, and I've actually cleaned up most of the actual DC wiring. It's just at the hot end that it's a big mess right now. So I'm hoping to solder or crimp together a lot of those connectors that are held together with the spring-loaded ones. And then maybe by next week it'll look nice and clean. I just wanted to make sure it was printing good before I start tampering with it.
I just thought you were too cheap to buy wire ties.
No. I'm almost out of a bag of 100 zip ties because I kept on zipping it, then cutting them, and so forth. And you can kind of see right at the base of the Y gantry there. You'll actually see I've got some Velcro ties, some red Velcro ties in there too.
I see that.
Yeah. Wiley's
Baker, one of our great friends, he says, what causes a print to stop in the middle of a model and then continue printing with no filament flowing through? A jam.
Pretty much.
Usually, yeah, you've got a jam somewhere in there. All metal hot end at 210. It has gotten a little cooler outside, so, and I know that you've got yours in the garage, Mark. And it's in a cooler room, and I know that you've got heat on in there, but I think that could be part of the problem. There might be a little bit too much airflow,
or it could be retraction too.
It could be retraction as well. Yeah. I see we've got Wiley in the house.
Hey guys, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
All right, I guess. Taking nourishment.
I see you've got your coffee. My coffee is empty, so I don't have any with me this morning.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, I should shut that off.
I may have made a 7-Eleven run last night at like 11 p.m. I'm just like, gas is cheap. $1 a liter. Let's go.
I have Pop-Tarts.
Ooh.
Well, I'm waiting for the second Thanksgiving dinner myself.
Yeah, we finally.
Second Thanksgiving. Is that like second breakfast?
Yep. We had one on Thursday, of course. Now we're having one here at the apartment complex today.
Ah, gotcha. That's something I should say is happy Thanksgiving to all of our viewers in the U.S. that have celebrated Thanksgiving. I want to talk quickly about some deals for anybody that is looking for Black Friday deals real quick. Let me just go back to this screen here.
Now, actually, maybe the American friends can answer this. In Canada, we kind of picked up Black Friday in 2011, and it wasn't really popular. But we got this spin-off called Cyber Monday because it's all online sales for us up here. Do you guys have Cyber Monday in the U.S.? Because I think you're going to find printing deals are the best.
We do, definitely.
So, yeah, I think the best wave of sales is yet to come.
Well, I can tell you, and I will share this screen. Right now, over at Spool 3D, and this is just a shameless plug because I'm there all the time anyway.
I got the email too. I saw the Monday deal. Why did it have to be Monday?
We've got some great deals going on right now. Flexion is 10% off all weekend. MicroSwiss is 10% off all weekend. 20% off on Zortrax filaments. 30% off on Zortrax printers. 15% off on power supplies. And here's a big one, guys, 25% off the CRX. That's all weekend long.
I'm not going to make any comment about that particular discount.
Well, even at that discount, I'm not buying one.
Exactly.
Today, it's 10% off all E3D products. Tomorrow, BL Touch. And on Monday, 20% off all filament brands. So just be aware that we do ship all over the world and that we're in a postal strike.
He's got a video camera. Got a microphone?
Hey, there's Donald.
Hey, guys.
So that was my shameless plug.
I feel bad for you, Richard. Monday's going to be a living nightmare.
What's that?
Monday's going to be a living nightmare.
Well, I'm going in tomorrow. I was supposed to go in today, but I'm kind of snowed in. So tomorrow I'll be going into the shop just to get stuff ready for Monday, and then of course Monday will be a little bit easier because we're going to fill orders tomorrow.
I'm just telling you that Monday with 20% off Filament.
Here's the thing: is we're out of a lot of filament, but we got to make room for the new stuff that's coming in this week. We've got a whole pallet of Ender 3 Pros coming in this week, and then we've got a whole pallet or 3 pallets of filament coming in. So lots of filament.
You mean Derek doesn't have his own filament extruder?
No, and there's a reason for that. Because it's a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have time. As you guys know, this week, all shows were late this week.
Yeah.
Monday show was on Tuesday. Thursday show was on Friday.
You only had 2 weeks to catch up. Jeez.
Yeah, well, it didn't quite work that way.
Yeah.
Screw off, Brian.
Yeah.
But
I'm just pushing the buttons. You know, it's Saturday. It's a fun day.
Right. I'm gonna go drink after this. After I shovel the walk.
Hey, Chris. Good question there. Should I get a CR10S or the one with the touch screen?
That's the same one.
Well, there are 2 different models, right? There's the regular one with the 128/64, and then there's the model with the touchscreen.
Yeah, that's right.
I have no experience with that touchscreen one yet. Have you played with one of those? Or?
Well, the touchscreen is the same that's on the CRX.
Is it?
Yes, the whole inside of that machine is exactly like the CRX.
Huh. Okay.
Just so everybody's aware of that.
Oh, are you talking about the CR10S Pro, or
yes.
Are you talking about the... Okay. Because Creality also had another model, which was the CR10S with the separate box and everything like that, but they have like an upgraded touch screen, which...
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I'll let me see if I can find a link in the interim.
Love you. Rover's asking if we can have one of those printers fall off the pallet. Half of those printers right now are already sold, just so you guys know.
What you printing there, Wiley?
That is a 68 Charger. That wall hanger. But for some reason, when I print large flat things like this, it's really rough when it prints. I don't know why.
Let's have a look at it there. Like the top layer is rough?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's like sandpaper, man. It's terrible.
Try drop.
I understand. I don't know.
I was gonna say try dropping your extrusion to about 97%, and just start with that and see if you have any noticeable improvement. Because usually I see banding and sandpaper textures like that if it's over extruding just slightly and kind of having bumpy layers in between, like some crossover.
Yeah.
Plowing.
I mean, when it gets to the top surface, you know, it's fine. It's just like the first few layers, 4 or 5 layers, it's just rough.
Right, probably because it's overlapping there, and then it kind of averages itself out, or it's able to push the material more to the outsides.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth a shot. I mean, you don't notice under extrusion, except for certain walls, like down to about 85% flow. So if you do even like tweaks down to like 98%, you probably wouldn't even notice it, but you'll notice the texture change.
Okay. Yeah, because I did do a tuning on this, so, and I did all the PID tunings to it.
Wiley, are you running ABL on that?
No.
No?
No.
I'm just wondering, are you doing any mesh leveling?
Nope. No,
Okay.
The bed's warped, so I print on a mirror.
Okay. The reason I ask is because there's a parameter that will allow you to control how many layers it takes to fade out those adjustments, and if that fade is not long enough, then you'll get that kind of thing that you're getting.
Oh, okay.
I might have to bump mine up because I only have it at 4 layers right now.
Yeah, I usually do the fade for like 10 layers.
Yeah, I used to have mine set at that too, but I was curious. I wanted to see the changes because my bed should be pretty level to begin with, but
I don't even know what my feed's set at. I haven't looked.
usually by default in Marlin it's 10 layers.
Mark's asking if we'll do rain checks on what's out of stock. I don't believe we're doing any rain checks. Just so you know, Mark. Raymond Emsley,
Richard,
I have an FL Sun i3 with a touch screen, and he loves it. Great. Esk Race, is that like Eskimo Race? He's from Norway, and he says they have Cyber Monday there too.
Sweet.
well, Cyber Monday is turning out to be much, much bigger than Black Friday.
Certainly is, especially with online sales becoming more of the mainstream, even what they were 2 years ago.
Not only that, too, is that, in all honesty, at least from an international standpoint, from what we've seen, Black Friday is getting a little bit rambunctious in the US. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. And so I think for retailers, it's just smarter to do online sales versus in-store sales.
I agree.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we had a shooting at a mall in Kentucky where a 12-year-old girl got shot.
Oh,
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm speaking to. And it's like, I don't even want to get into politics on that, but it's still a tragic circumstance that shouldn't happen, right?
And she wasn't involved in the altercation at all. She's just an innocent bystander.
Oh,
And,
that's worse.
Yeah, but she's doing well. I have a personal friend that knows who she is. And,
Well, that's good to know.
and so what they've done is they went in, they did exploratory surgery. She didn't have any severe injuries to any organs, and they decided to leave the bullet in near her spine.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, but she's doing okay.
Well, that's great to hear.
Bernie Lob is saying he's just had his first ever heater failure. What printer are you running, Bernie?
And so, kind of while we're here on the topic of Black Friday and Cyber Monday, are you guys buying a new printer? Are you guys buying some new pieces?
No.
If I could afford to buy a Christie and Ender 3, I would.
I gotta wait a little while before I go buying a bunch of stuff again here. Went a little crazy a couple months ago. Gotta get caught up on it now.
Well, what do I have to? I've got to finish building the one we're building for the series that's coming up. I've got to get my Wilson 2 back up and running, or I might cannibalize it. I'm not sure. And then get things finished here in the studio at home. But I wanted to ask, while we've got Wiley and Donald in our group today, Wiley, we were talking about upgrades. What has been your experience with upgrades on the printers that you have?
Well, as you can tell, mine kind of look like a circus. You get a, I don't know what you camera, you can get a back shot on, but I didn't turn that one on. But I upgrade about everything. I'm one of them guys that just put everything, every bell and whistle you can find on it. And I did put TH3D's firmware on there on both my enders, anyways. I haven't noticed no problems with it yet, but I got to do the tornado yet. I got to get that updated just for the fact that I need a power off resume on it. Yeah, man, I was doing a 3-day, 18-hour print, and the power got shut off at 3 days.
Oh.
Yeah, or 3 days, 1 hour, 17 hours left.
So Donald, what about you? What's your experience with upgrades? Have you had good ones? Have you had bad ones?
Just bad ones so far. trying to get Marlin updated on my ANET E12 is not the easiest thing so far I've figured out.
Now, has ANET opened up their source code?
I'm not sure.
Anybody up there yet?
No, ANET is notorious for not doing that.
Gotcha.
Don, are you the guy that I've been helping with that on your E12?
You sure have been.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to get everything out there. Sorry, guys. mute myself.
Yeah, I've just been having issues with the Marlin firmware trying to upload it to my printer. So,
well, you
pretty much everything.
You got the team of guys here. What issue are you encountering?
It just keeps on getting errors for when it uploads. It says it's not allowing it to do it. Attempts 1 to 10, and then it stops.
You've got your port set correctly?
Yes.
You've got your board set correctly?
Yes.
Is it running out of memory?
It goes up to...
I'm sorry, you cut out. I missed that.
To about 90%, it says, when it does the compiling. And after the compiling, I go to burn it to the loader, and it doesn't work. It gives about 10 attempts to do it, and then it stops.
Okay, so let's start with this. Have you flashed a bootloader onto that board?
No, I have not.
Okay, and it's which board is it again, or which printer is it again? The E12?
Yeah, it's using the ANET, ANET 1.0 board, Brian. But you know, a bunch of those ANET boards had a corrupted bootloader.
Right. What I'm just thinking here is, well, it depends on which, if it actually did come with an Arduino bootloader, right?
Correct.
Your board looks something like this, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. These boards are crap.
Okay, don't say.
This was the original board that I got with my HIC top, which was my very first 3D printer. And to be honest with you, these don't have enough memory on them to hold the things that we want them to hold. So they run out of memory very quickly, and they do basically fail when you're trying to do the upload. And it's all a memory issue on these things. What I would do, if it's in your budget, is I would upgrade to a different board. And if I can suggest any boards, my first one would be the Gen 1.4 from MKS. And then you can set the steppers any way that you want them to be. And it has a lot more space for memory.
Sounds good.
Yeah, these boards, unfortunately, they're a dime a dozen. And you see that, I'm sure that's a capacitor of some sort right there.
I believe that's actually an inductor.
Well, whatever it is, it's a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And you'll see that
for the time being, if I was to load 1.1.8 on it, would that maybe lessen the memory?
Yes. Because there's not as much in 1.1.8 vanilla as there is in 1.1.9.
Okay.
There's several less commands that can clutter up.
There's the board you want, Don.
Yeah, I just got one
fancy
a month ago.
Yeah, that Gen L board is great, and you know, hey, we'll go on an off green screen adventure here. There we go. So over here is the ramps board that I have running on my little monoprice unit here. That's just in pieces, as you can see. But you can get that set up too. And this one, it's got a lot of wires coming out of it because it is running the TMC Trinamics smoothing boards.
Which Trinamic drivers are you running?
2130s.
Hello, guys. I finally made
Jerry.
it. I have insomnia and I overslept, but here I am. Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, no problem, Jerry.
That's okay, Jerry.
Wait a minute. He has insomnia, but he overslept.
Yeah. Yeah, I get up and down all night long, and when I eventually get out of bed, it is what time it is what it is. So anyway,
You know what they say? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
everybody out there that's watching that has never seen me before or anything, hello, how you doing? I'm Jerry Knapp of 3DHP, and wanted to join in and try to help out if I could here and there.
Well, Jerry, today we've been talking about upgrades on your 3D printers. It doesn't matter if you've got Creality or ANETs or whatever. Tell us about some of the upgrades that you've done and what your sort of upgrade path has been and your success and failures.
Well, when I first got into 3D printing a little over a year ago, of course, while I was waiting on my Creality to come in the mail 2 or 3 weeks later, I got on many groups. I read all that I could so I wouldn't be a complete idiot once I got the printer. I put easy ABLs on all my printers from th3d.com. I've got solid bed mounts so I don't have to mess with the screens and adjusting. I've got Pets Fangs versions 2 with 5015 fans on my 2 CR10s. What else? C270 cameras. I've upgraded the power supplies on my CR10s to Meanwell. Got rid of the stock power supplies. I went to poly wheels on my Ender and one of my CR10s, the polycarbonate clear wheels. I still have another one to upgrade. I've got easy out filament sensors, so if something should run out, it'll pause the print, lock the steppers, and give me time, whether it's 10 minutes or 3 or 4 hours, to replace the filament. They work great. So I think that's about it at the moment. I'll let somebody else talk, but there's other things I've done, but it takes me a minute to think about it.
You reached the point too, the point you can't remember what it was, what it began as, eh?
Well, it's good to have you here this morning, Jerry, even though we've only got about 10 minutes left.
Thank you.
But yeah, this morning we've kind of been talking about upgrades and whether some of them are worth it, whether some of them aren't. We are doing a series right now on the first layer where we're doing a complete series of upgrades on one of my CR10s. And we're going to see the pitfalls and what works, what doesn't work. We also are going to try, because we have that Bondtech on there, extruder, we're going to try and print some, what is it called? Yeah, flexible stuff.
So speaking of flexible there, Richard, I saw that Spool 3D started carrying what they call flexible PLA.
We've had that for a long time.
Really? I've never heard of that.
What is that?
Well, it's, what can I say? It's PLA based, but it has an elastopolymer in it so that it has some stretch to it. It's very soft. It's about a 60 shore rubber, for lack of a better term. If you're going to use that, I wouldn't use it for anything like gaskets or anything that's going to get any wear to it. I'd probably use it for a squeeze ball, and that's about it. But if you wanted a better flexible filament, if you're going to be using it on something like an RC car that's going to be going through dirt and mud and different things that are on the ground, then I would use TPE, sorry, which is about an 80 shore hardness. And then TPU comes into hardnesses, whether it's 80 or 90 shore.
So it's pretty squishy then, eh?
It is very squishy.
That's kind of cool.
We did a, we printed off for a customer some nose guards for a horse so they could put medicine through the nose of the horse.
That is so cool.
And we printed it with the flexible PLA, I believe. And that thing was just totally soft. Like you could crush it in your hand and then put it on the table, and of course it would come back to its normal shape.
And how did the horse feel about that?
I have no idea. I haven't talked to the horse.
Ben Brady, thank you for the video. You're great. You got a good voice.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
This morning.
Did we miss your birthday?
Just one of my many talents.
Jerry, did we miss your birthday?
Oh, no, this in June next year. No, Ben's birthday video on YouTube was really good.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, talking about flexibles. So we are going to try and put some flexibles through there. I don't know what we're going to make yet. Oh, I know what we can make. We can make the wheels for the Batmobile that I've got.
Yeah, there might be flat wheels though. That's that squishy.
Not if we go to the TPU. It's 80 shore, so it's got some beef to it, and it's a little bit more chemical resistant. So running it through oil on the street or in a parking lot or whatever shouldn't bother it.
I was curious if you were to use that to print some heat for your printer.
You could.
Because that way you would get a nice low clearance.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, I hope you're sanding something there.
Finally.
You can see your arm going back and forth. You were looking pretty happy there for a second.
You know, okay, PA 3D Printing asked a very good question. We can elaborate on that. The Spool 3D website mentioning a postal strike.
Yes.
My understanding is right now the legislation has been passed for the back to work legislation. We our postal workers here, if you ordered via Canada Post, USPS shipping, but any kind of the regular mail services, they were on rotating strikes, but they were taking a jab notably at the parcel services. So it made sense to force all outgoing packages to go UPS and FedEx for the time being. I have no idea when the Postal Service will recover because they already have said most regular postal stuff won't make it by Christmas for a lot of people. So I'm going to gamble that Spool 3D is probably going to continue with UPS and FedEx in the near future.
What are you showing off there, Jerry?
Here's my latest print, Tigra from the Thundercats by Fragment. This is another reason why I had insomnia. I was up so late trying to get this last rock right here in the front printed so I could get pictures up on Facebook. I've got on the first layer and I don't know, like 7 or 8 different groups that I post on. But the reason I printed this at 200% is when he released Lionel, the very first of his series, I made it at 100% and it was so large when he made the other 3, they were smaller. I had to equal the size, so I had to print a giant. But it's pretty cool. It's very big.
That is absolutely gorgeous.
Jerry, can we get a close-up of that whip? I'm really curious how you printed that. That's amazing.
I put it in NetFab and I cut it in 4 pieces. I had to cut it in 4 pieces and glue it back together.
That looks fantastic, man.
Yeah, it's really thick. I got, I think, 10 or 15% infill. Most of my models, I always put 10% infill so the arms don't break. As you know, PLA breaks easy. And usually on rocks and stuff, I put 5% in. If it's not going to be handled, 5% usually works well.
How many shows?
6, let's see, 5-4-4 is what I'm currently doing. I used to do 6-5-4 and everything. It takes a lot longer, but it's thicker and harder. I print a lot of heads.
Now, are you doing just regular infill on that? And are you doing that at 0.2 or 0.1?
That on this, that detail isn't really super fine, so I went with 0.2. And most of my 3D printing history in the past, I printed everything at 0.2, but I realized I get a lot of under extrusion, a lot of fine details don't quite come out. Fingers get screwed up, so I print at 0.12 most of the time. Gotcha. Unless I got super high detail, then I go to 0.12, and if I don't have super high detail, everything is 0.2.
Whose model is that?
Fragment.
Frags, okay. It's absolutely. Frag does amazing work. I've got a couple of his models here that I have to finish. Of course, and then I've got. I haven't got any of the Thundercat stuff. I really want to get some of that. But eventually, you'll see some of the work actually going on behind me. We're going to put a camera here, so when I'm painting or doing detail work on anything, I'll be able to bring you guys along for the ride, and we'll record that and get that up online. People have been asking me to do more painting tutorials.
Yeah, we definitely, I know it's a bit trickier in winter, at least for me, to do painting, but I've, again, gotten into the bad habit of just printing things in whatever color I had and then just leaving them as is.
Well, I have my professional cleaner in the other room. She does an amazing job. Thank you, my wife.
I airbrush everything in the house, and if it starts getting too cold for the paint in the garage to prime, I put the paint in the house so that it's not cold. I go outside, I prime the whatever real quick, and I bring it back in, just let it dry in the house. I know you get a little bit of odor from it, but that doesn't really bother me. And then
I've got a paint booth that I use here in the house, And there's a way that you can make it so that you actually exhaust everything into a charcoal style bucket. So you don't get any of those paint fumes back in the room, and you can use any of the automotive primers like I use on my stuff, the high build stuff and the regular stuff. The only thing about the high build stuff in a paint booth is that it really clogs up the filters really fast.
I just ordered one off Amazon. I'll have it in a couple of days, one of those portable spray booths.
Oh, like my
excuse me?
Like my little one that I've showed off?
I think so. Yeah,
what's about 100 US?
Up.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Because when I do spray over my videos and I got all my paint on the wall and stuff on the table, I spray. I try to keep it fairly close. I don't think I'm getting overspray everywhere, but then again, later when I go and blow my nose, I realize, oop, I sure did. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of not wearing my mask when I'm painting.
yeah, I have dust masks. I work construction for 30 years. I know better, but you know.
Doesn't
You know
help.
what we always say, Jerry, is do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So-
with
so-
that said, it seems like we are at 11 o'clock, guys. We are going to end it here. We are going to stay in our group offline, though. But to everybody that joined us today, thank you very much for coming along for the ride and joining our discussion. And we will be back next Saturday with another group of people talking about 3D printing. We don't know what we're going to talk about yet. Maybe we'll come up with something. And until next time, my friends, remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. Everybody say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Next week or tomorrow. Got a show.